Welcome back to Week 3 QB Stardom and Sit 'em. Let's run it. Alright, kicking it off with our Week 3 review. Man, this wasn't pretty, but it was not pretty all around. There were so many quarterbacks who just did not perform well. Out of the 32 quarterbacks we got out on the field, only 8 of them broke our threshold this week, which was pretty ridiculous. We'll look at some of these first. Hits, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. We benched them both, and guess what? They're finally staying benched because nothing has really happened there that would make me not want to bench them. Now, you probably put in a lot of draft capital for them, but they're not producing. So maybe it's time to look for other options. If they're your only option and you're in deep quarterback leagues where you have 2 quarterbacks or super flex, might not be an option, but they've performed well. Derek Carr, though, they haven't performed well. Derek Carr, on the other hand, has performed well, and we're going to keep him in that start column probably. So, misses: Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco, Matthew Stafford. Carson Wentz has come off 2 great games and then went and just absolutely blew that third game. Joe Flacco, same thing. He came off a hot game and went into straight ice, and he's going to be replaced coming into Week 4. As long as Wilson's good, he's probably going to be a sit. Matthew Stafford, again, just someone who you would hope would break that threshold, just didn't. Close calls. Patrick Mahomes, really close to breaking that threshold. That would have upped our percentage. Kirk Cousins, really close. Ryan Tannehill, really close. And all of these kind of hurt our percentage. So all these close calls, listen, it was within a point or so, and had that point not been scored, our percentage would have easily been in the 60s, and we would have gone from there. But, hey, live and learn, right? Now, let's head over to Cincinnati, where we got the Dolphins versus the Bengals with Tua versus Joe Burrow. Now, listen, I like this matchup. This isn't going to be my matchup of the week, but I do like this matchup. You got Tua. He's got some injury concerns, mainly just because he might not be able to play as well as he probably could. And so let's make that a game day decision. But if he's healthy, if he's good to go, we're going to start him. He still has some decent targets there, so get it to those guys, and they'll get you the points you need. Week 3 was a rough one, but it was against a rough defense, so I'm not too concerned about that. Burrow, it looks like their O-line has finally had some resolution happening. Now they're facing a tough D in Miami, so that'll be a bit interesting. Still a good option, though. And his worst week, he's still got 16.5 points, which you can't really complain with that. Let's head over to the Vikings versus the Saints. Kirk Cousins, I'm benching him this time around. Saints are a solid defense. They've hardly allowed any points in general, especially to these quarterbacks through the air. And he has barely broken the threshold in Week 1, and that's about it. So, I guess in Week 3 he did break the threshold, and that's one of our misses. But it was from a last-minute 28-yard touchdown for, I guess, that saved the game for them, and it saved his fantasy points as well. Now Winston continues to remain sat. I just don't think he's a very viable option, and he has thrown away the ball way too much in the last 2 games, and he has some injury concern within his receivers, and so that receiving core, we'll see what happens. They're dealing with some injuries with Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, but we'll see if they come back, and I'm still probably going to keep him benched, but that is something to consider. Now we've got the Browns versus the Falcons, where we got Jacoby Brissett, bench warming again. Run first offense, that's what Cleveland's all about. So I just can't trust the passing game there. Best game was still shy of 18 points. So I think he could be a fringe against the Falcons. The Falcons could be the game where he actually breaks the threshold, but I am not trusting. I'm not putting my eggs in that basket, so we're going to leave it at that. Marcus Mariota, on the other hand, I'm going to start him. He was no-go for Week 3, but, I mean, he still looked good. He is connecting with Kyle Pitts now, which is something that we want to see. Kyle Pitts has had lackluster numbers, but last week it was a lot better. And so I think we're going to start him now, hoping that between him and Drake London, listen, that could be a dynamic trio there as far as Marcus Mariota, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London. They can't just shut him down by taking out one receiver. Now we got the Commanders versus the Cowboys, where we got Carson Wentz. I am not hopping off the wagon yet. I think he's awesome. So we're going to keep him in the start column. Carson Wentz is actually not that bad. There's a rough week 3. Cowboys defense will still give them problems. So let's keep that in mind. He's a fringe player because of that. But still open for a bounce back. And he still has a lot of attempts. The bulk and the attempts, the whatever you want to call it, it's all there. So as long as he can connect with some of these great receivers, then he should have no problem. Cooper Rush, no confidence there. I mean, still low ceiling. He hasn't broken our threshold once and gives me no reason to think that he can. Schultz might be coming off an injury this upcoming week, so that might help his numbers, but still not trusting it. Seahawks versus Lions. We got Geno Smith. He broke it, I think, last week, if I remember correctly. But I am expecting Detroit Lions defense to bounce back. They had a pretty tough loss, and a lot of that was in the passing game, so I think they're going to adapt accordingly with Aaron Glenn there. The secondary has been all right, but the run has been weak, so that leads me to think that Seahawks might run more. Jared Goff, on the other hand, I have a start. They're starting to incorporate the pass more. I don't think I like it. I think their run game is spectacular, and they should stick with that. But they actually did find some decent success. He does have lots of targets, and he's starting to spread the love around. Included in that is the connection between him and TJ Hawkinson. It's finally getting established. They had a really good season last year, but so far this year it's been not something to behold, I guess. So TJ Hawkinson has a touchdown. He could be incorporated in the game more, especially with Swift's injury, and they could just be banking a lot more because of one running back down. They could be banking more on the passing. So Jared Goff is a start. Tennessee Titans now versus the Colts. We got Matt Ryan versus Ryan Tannehill. We got the battle of the Ryans here, and they're both benched for me. Tannehill barely breaking the threshold ever. Raiders defense gave up points, so I don't think that's a viable start. Week 3 just was handed it. So Derrick Henry, I think he's starting to come back into the picture, which means that as long as they can keep teams honest, which does require passing, they're going to be relying a lot more on him. Matt Ryan, on the other hand, he had to break 17 points. He had 7 fumbles in the last 3 games. Only 2 of them were lost, so that's lucky. But you don't want to see that. He has some receivers back in action, though, so that could help elevate his game, but I don't think it's going to elevate it past 19 points. Now we got the Chicago Bears versus the New York Giants, where we got Justin Fields battling against Daniel Jones. Justin Fields' bulk is not there. 23 passes in the last 2 weeks. It was, I think, 11, and I mean, this is connections, I guess. But he had 11 passes and I think 17 passes for a completion of 7 in the first game and whatever that was in the second game for weeks 2 and 3. So just because of that, he's benched. I don't think Chicago has a good offensive strategy here, and I think that they're kind of blowing it. They're not really using Justin Fields in the passing game, which is ridiculous. Now, Daniel Jones, on the other hand, I just think he's very mediocre. He's had mediocre points through 3 weeks. Giants' passing game is just not there. Bears are a decent defense, and they only allow 13 points to opposing quarterbacks. So I don't think that they're going to be giving him too much love. Now let's head over to Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, man, I don't know what I want to do here. I think I'm going to start Trevor Lawrence. He was looking good last week. I think that they are a pass-heavy offense, and for that reason, I've got him in the start column. Philadelphia Eagles, on the other hand, Jalen Hurts has just put up decent numbers his entire time, and so there's no reason to sit him. Now, New York Jets versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mitch Trubisky remains a sit for me. I don't know. I've never really strayed too wrong with that. So I'm going to keep him in the sit column. New York Jets is a bit interesting because we might have Zach Wilson making a comeback here in week 4 off of the injury. But regardless of what it is, Flacco or Wilson, I'm going to have him sat until I can see some more production, some more consistent production, and kind of see who their targets are and see their offensive scheme come together. Now we've got the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens, and this is my matchup of the week. We've got Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, quarterbacks 1 and 2. Lamar Jackson, he's been absolutely destroying the game. Both of them are obviously starts. I don't think I need to explain too much why. But yeah, Lamar Jackson has absolutely destroyed the game, and I just want to point out that it hasn't really been through rushing that much. He has that ability, he has that potential, but I think he's been trying to improve his passing game more. He's fighting for a contract, as Chanton has said in one of our videos. So I think that he's just out there being an absolute dog. Josh Allen, on the other hand, he is, again, phenomenal. He's hitting his targets. Him and Stephon Diggs really have that connection. If you've got the 1-2 punch with both of them on your fantasy team, you're probably looking pretty good, and you're probably sitting pretty happy. So both of them are starts. Now, who am I going to give it to? Josh Allen, only because of the defense. I think the Buffalo Bills defense is a lot better than the Ravens, so I think that they could limit Lamar Jackson's ceiling, whereas Josh Allen will still continue to have a heyday. This could be a high-scoring game. It kind of depends on the defenses, but we'll see from there. Now we got the Chargers versus the Texans, where we got Justin Herbert on the stardom column, and we got Davis Mills on the situm column. Justin Herbert, it was kind of not the greatest week 3 for him. Still dealing with injury. Believe it was rib cartilage. We're going to hope that he comes back and he's looking good this next week. I'm still not going to bail off too much. I'm not trying to overreact, so Justin Herbert remains start. Davis Mills, on the other hand, I have had no reason to start him, and I will continue not to start him until I see a reason to. I just don't have any faith in this Texans team. They're pretty awful, and they're going against the Chargers, so I don't think the Chargers are going to let them get away with too much. Arizona Cardinals versus the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to start Kyler Murray. He's kind of consistently passed our threshold. I believe week 3 was a bit iffy, but I cannot remember actually if he passed or not. I don't think so, actually. But week 4, I think he makes a bounce back, and that he is able to, even though Panthers have a tough defense, I think he's still going to be able to make some moves on them. Baker Mayfield, zero trust there. No offense scheme. Not hitting his top target, and it seems like he's just been playing awful, especially in week 3. So even though I was high on him at the beginning of the year, I'm not high on him now. Now let's head over to New England Patriots. Whoever's starting, sit him. I believe Mac Jones is probably going to be out. So I have a hard time trusting any backup until they can actually prove themselves. Green Bay Packers, man, this is rough for me. I think I'm going to still bench Aaron Rodgers until he gives me a reason not to. He has yet to break our threshold, so I'm going to bench him. I think this could be the game that he actually surpasses that 19 points, but I'm not too high on it. Denver Broncos versus Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are the only team with 3 losses right now, so that's something to consider when you're looking at the Denver Broncos. Now, I think the Broncos are relying a lot on some of their run game and their running backs. I'm still going to bench Wilson. Haven't really gone too wrong with that there, but we're going to leave him in the bench column because I just, again, can't trust a quarterback who hasn't really been consistently breaking that 19 points. Now, Las Vegas Raiders, on the other hand, I'm going to keep Derek Carr in that stardom column. I think just any quarterback who has Devontae Adams at his disposal is going to be in the start column. They should be able to get those 19 points. He had a weak showing with the tight end, Darren Waller, last week, but hey, let's hope for a bounce back right here. I don't think that the Broncos are that great of a team, so I think that they have a lot of potential to do that. Now we got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where we are going to start Patrick Mahomes, as always. Now, I don't think he passed our threshold in weeks 2 and 3, but listen, this is going to be hard because Buccaneers, they're a decent defense. I think Patrick Mahomes has been within a point or two, even though within a point or two of 19 points in weeks 2 and 3, so he's always close to that threshold. And for that reason, he's a fringe player no matter what at his floor. So we're going to keep him in the start column. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I just don't think that they've been impressing too much, so keep Tom Brady in the sit column. It'll depend a lot on his receivers. He had 3 out last week. I know he's for sure getting 1 back, and Julio Jones I know should probably be back off injury as well. So let's look at his receivers, reanalyze come Sunday morning, see what they're bringing to the table. Now we got the LA Rams versus the San Francisco 49ers. Listen, I wanted Jimmy G to really succeed. I really did want that to go well, but he did not pass our threshold. That being said, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna sit him again. I was undecided. I still left it up in the air, but I'm gonna sit him. He's gonna be in my sit column because I think the LA Rams are gonna give him enough problems on defense that he's gonna not be able to break that 19-point threshold. He's going to be a fringe player. I think he's going to score somewhere between 15 and 19 points. On the Rams side, let's start Matthew Stafford and just hope for the best. I think he can put up some decent points against the San Francisco 49ers, and I've still got some hope and faith in him. So that wraps it up, though, for our Week 4 starts and sits. Catch us next week as we discuss more about the different starts and sits. We do a Week 4 recap, and we start doing a new segment. But tune in next week for that. Now, I will say real quick, if you made it through this video, and if you like this video, you have a chance to win some money. We're open for 15 likes. That's my number. That's what I represent. It's the number 15. Always repping 15. So if this video gets 15 likes, I will be giving some money to one of the people who liked, commented, shared, or subscribed. With that, we're going to log off now, and we'll catch you next week.